Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday to you. Welcome to Morning Manna. Get your coffee. Let's continue on in our devotion as we go through the book of James. We're in chapter 5 now. It says this, and fair warning, this is a tough text that we're about to read today. He says this in verse 1. Now listen, you rich people. Weep and wail because of the misery that is coming on you. Your wealth has rotted, and moths have eaten your clothes. Your gold and silver are corroded. Their corrosion will testify against you and eat your flesh like fire. You have hoarded wealth in the last days. Look, the wages you failed to pay the workers who mowed your fields are crying out against you. The cries of the harvesters have reached the ears of the Lord Almighty. You have lived on earth in luxury and self-indulgence. You have fattened yourselves in the day of slaughter. You have condemned and murdered the innocent one who was not opposing you. That's pretty rough, JT. I mean, I don't know about you, but I read the text like that and I'm thinking, man, what do you do with that? Well, I think the good news is that we live in a society that is relatively affluent compared to the rest of the world. And what we do with our gifting and what we do with our wealth is, I think, kind of what James is talking about. Now, it's clear that he saw something here in these first century believers that he didn't like, and he was addressing that. And in particular, he goes after the affluent people there in that first century. And he's saying, you guys are storing up these riches for yourselves. You're not doing the works of ministry, and it's going to cost you. And he's like, you're storing up these treasures for you rather than storing up treasures in heaven. And it's going to be bad news. And he's saying, the Bible talks about a worker being worth his wages. And he talks about how they're withholding payment to people that were mowing their lawns and things like that. And I think really the key to this is pretty simple. What are you doing with what God has given you? I think that's the devotion that we have to pull from this, because comparatively speaking, toward the rest of the world, by and large, America is a wealthy country, and the church is doing well. And I don't mean this individual church, just by and large, financially is not really the problem. What are we doing with what God has given us? Not just our finances, but the gifts that God has given us. Are we using them to pour out into other people? Are we blessing other people with the things that God has given us? And you might be saying, Pastor Todd, that's always your devotion, is like to go and do something for other people. Right. That is the devotion pretty much every day if you're a Christian. Go out and do with what God has given you. Don't hoard it up, because if you do, the moths are going to come and eat it. It's going to corrode. It's going to waste away. And that's what James is warning these people about. So your devotion, go bless somebody else today. Don't expect anything in return, and watch what happens in your life. I end every devotion with that. And here James is just kind of affirming that point. And that's your devotion for today. So guys, as always, remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you can be made aware every time we put out a new video. We'll see you tomorrow.